it works. Oh.
On my phone it says it's.
We're live. We made it. Okay.
Perfect. Oh.
Sorry, everyone.
Hello. So nice of you to join us.
We just had a lot of problems.
Anything.
It was my fault. Okay, first and foremost, please type into the chat box if you can hear us.
More importantly, type into the chat box if you can't hear us.
True.
So we can prove that you're a liar. Yeah, you're a liar. Perfect.
You can hear us? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Darren. Hi, Lala. Lala.
Hi. Oh, yeah, there's like a delay. That is fun.
Yeah, turn that off. Okay. Hi, Hannah. Hi,
think,
Michael again. Hi, Bree. Hi, Michael again.
The entire
There's an
show.
echo? Oh, shoot. I'm sorry.
There's an echo because it's picking up the other phones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Lauren.
We're really good at stuff. That's why we intended for the echo to be there.
Might want to also mute your computer.
Yeah, probably. Okay, cool. Hi, Paula. Thank you guys for coming.
Pat your head.
Hi, Paula. Sorry, I'm saying hi to everyone.
What's up, Paula?
Sup?
See, this is whenever I do like a Facebook Live video, as soon as someone pops up, I say hello and completely lose my train of thought. So it's a real shit show. Welcome to Mouth Almighty 2, a real shit show. You are gonna stay there the whole time, aren't you?
Yeah. No, I'll move. It's nice to see everyone's comments. Maybe I'll just go like this.
Your head is still in frame.
Yeah, I know.
It's fine. It's fine. If that's what, fine, I'll do it.
I'll give the people what they want to see.
What? Yeah, you would be right in front of Rachel. That's perfect.
No, I'll go like this for when Rachel
fine.
comes.
Yeah, can't see you. If you can't see the screen, then we can't see you.
You can read the comments from your phone.
That's true. Okay, all right. I'll let it get underway. Woo!
So yeah, we were just talking for the last 10 minutes about how strange this is doing a live event where it's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us in the room. It's the 4 performers and the betrothed. That's before you're married. Rachel's husband's here. That's what I'm trying to say. And my younger brother's in the control room. Go and hurry up and finish so I can do other stuff with my life. We did, actually, everyone who's here performed at the first Mouth Almighty in, was it February? I think it was the end of February.
It was at the beginning of March.
Beginning of March? Whoa. Do you guys hear that echo? That's because Venture sucks. It's so weird though, because obviously that was a lifetime ago as far as the world has completely changed. But I don't know. I think I don't mean to speak for the 3 of you, but I don't know. I thought it was a really great experience doing the last one and we want to continue doing this. And so we're giving it a shot. So it is a small group of us, but that's okay. We're all I don't know. We've all been around each other, but because where we work, we have to wear masks. So it's actually nice to see all your faces for the first time in a month. So, yeah, we all work at a grocery store. And one of the things that we're doing now is, there's a line, there's only 30 people in the store at a time. And the grocery store that we work at, they have us do a different thing every hour. And one of the new coronavirus responsibilities is to be on manning the line and having people come through and getting the carts and stuff like that. So the other day I had never seen before in my 44 years of life and didn't realize I had never seen it until I saw it. And then I was like, oh, I've never seen that before. So I was getting some carts and a BMW spot and the guy driving just has one hand on the wheel and he got in his hand a s'mores, like a s'more. That's the singular of s'mores. And it's real gooey and he's he's trying to eat it. And the marshmallow is dripping down. And I was like, I've never seen anyone drive eating a s'more anyways, but driving a really expensive vehicle. But then I thought about it, I was like, what happened to what were the chain of events leading up to that guy being in the parking lot? Because clearly he was around a fire making some s'mores. He's like, oh shit, we got to get groceries. They close at 7. No time, get in the car. I'm going to eat this on the way. And white leather, no, I mean, I guess because, you know, marshmallows are white too if you get marshmallow on white leather. But I was just like, this guy does not value money at all because he's eating a goddamn s'more while driving. But yeah, so I'd never seen that before. I did 2 months of completely vegan. That just ended at the end of April. And so cheese was such a big part of my diet. And I just needed to take a little break, kind of like reset the system. And so I had a lot more veggies in the last 2 months. And I, you know, because veggies are good for you, at least that's what they tell me. I've seen no evidence of it, particularly with asparagus. So I really like asparagus, but I'm one of those people that it makes their urine smell really, really horrible. Woo. So we started carrying this grilled asparagus, like a frozen grilled asparagus, which is a delight, but even it makes my piss smell like shit. And I don't mean like it makes it smell bad. I mean, it makes it smell like feces. Because because every time I eat it, at the time when I'm eating it, I'm like, this is really good. This is going to do a number on me later. Like, there's no way this is good for me because of what it does to me. But I forget later in the day. So the first time after having it, I was at a Walmart and I had to pee. So I go into the men's room and I'm at the urinal right next to a stall that's occupied. And I start peeing and I was like, oh my God, this guy needs to see a doctor. This smells terrible. And he gets up and leaves, and I'm like, I can still, oh wait, that wasn't that dude at all. That is my piss. It is a horrifying, horrifying smell. So I enjoy it. And like in a weird sort of perverse way, like I enjoy this, like having the result even more than I enjoy eating the asparagus. Like I'm now buying it solely for that result. I explained it to my lady friend a little while ago, and she's like, you're going to have to get some and show me. I was like, no, because that will be the last time we ever see each other. Yeah, that's also a weird thing that like it took a pandemic for me to start dating someone for the first time in like several years. The interesting thing for me about being in a new relationship is that like anytime I'm in a new relationship, once it becomes like physical, like intimate or whatever, I don't get any sleep for like the first 2 months. Like once there's like, you know, once sleepovers start occurring, I don't get a wink of sleep because I snore, which she says she's fine with, but she has no idea what she's in for because it's just like, it's like a Kodiak bear with apnea. But also, I'm terrified of falling asleep and just farting through the night. It's not so much I'm terrified, I'm aware that that's what'll happen. So like the first 2 months, as she's falling asleep, I'm like, oh God, oh Christ, oh no. And I realize at some point I'm gonna have to just get comfortable enough to be like, well, she's either gonna like me anyways, or like this will be the last time I see her. So either or. I can't remember. I know that I told you this story, but so this happened, it was like 2.5 weeks ago. We have, there's a guy, so I normally work nights, and on Thursdays, I do like a mid shift. So we work with like 70, 75 people. And so there's a lot of people who only work mornings and I only see them once a week. And there's this guy, Ray, he's from New Zealand. And he's a great guy, but like I've never I don't work with him enough that like we don't have like a repartee yet. Like we just like we'll talk, but like I don't know a whole lot about him. So this just brought me so much joy when this happened naturally. We have another coworker, this guy Rich, who you know, because we have to wear masks at work, and he's had severe allergies, like it's driving him nuts. So me and Ray are working next to each other, and Rich walks up to me and he's just like, do you know what the greatest thing in the world is? So I have allergies right now, but one of the symptoms of the allergies is very similar to it. And then I cut him off and I was like, you can't say, do you know what the greatest thing in the world is? And then not give me the chance to guess. He's like, okay, what would your guess have been? I said, garlic bread. He's like, garlic bread? That's the best thing in the world? I was like, yeah, obviously. And he just turns to Ray. He's like, do you have any thoughts about this? He goes, yeah, if whatever you're going to talk to us about isn't garlic bread, then I don't know why you're wasting Molly's time. I was just like, thank you, Ray. Thank you for backing me up. And then Rich just walks away, throwing his hands in the air. And Ray goes, fuck, man, I want some garlic bread now. So this was, the subtitle of this is Burning My Travels Clean. So I have a travel story that I'm going to tell. So I lived in Arizona for 4 years. I'm from New England, but I lived in Arizona for 4 years. Did a road trip out there when we were moving out because we moved right around this time 10 years ago. We had to be out of our place in Manchester the end of May, but couldn't move in until June 15th. So I was like, we can rush out there, get to Arizona and like hang out in a hotel for 2 weeks, or we can take our time, do a road trip because my girlfriend at the time hadn't done much traveling, and I had seen a lot of the South. So I was like, yeah, let's go down. So we went to New Orleans. We went to Biloxi, Mississippi, which I do not recommend. It's the most horrible beach I've ever been to. But we're kind of in the home stretch of the trip. There's like a day or two left, and we're in West Texas. And because have any of you guys ever driven through Texas? Really? Yeah. Oh yeah. How much of Texas the Panhandle? But even the Panhandle, because you guys were on bikes, that was probably like 2 days through that, or
we took a rest day. So
yeah, yeah. Because in your bike trip ended in Arizona, right? Is that where it was? Or, yeah, yeah.
30 miles
short. Yeah. I'm talking to Rachel off camera, we were in like the widest part of Texas. Like we went to Austin, but just driving through Texas took us like 3.5 days because it's a big state. So we get to like the last 400 or 500 miles heading west, and all of a sudden there's a highway that the speed limit is 95 miles an hour because it's just straightaways for hundreds of miles. There's no one out there. It's all farmland, and it was great. We had a really good car, put it on cruise control, so I'm driving. And I was raised when I was learning how to drive back in the 1900s. When I was learning how to drive, I was taught that like whatever the speed limit is, if you're less than 10 miles over the speed limit, you're fine. So speed limit's 95. I had cruise control set at 103, and we're driving. And there was a little, not an overpass, but like a road that crossed it, and then there was an on ramp or an off ramp from there coming to the highway. And I'm driving under it, and I see there's a sheriff up there. I got cruise control. I'm not worried about it. Pass under him. As soon as we get under, see his lights go on. So I was like, okay. So I pull over. He's like, you know how fast you were going? I said, I had the cruise control set at 103. He's like, I clocked you at 102. I was like, okay. He said, isn't the speed limit 95? He goes, yes, it is, sir. I said, oh, okay, so how fast can I go here? And he goes, 95 miles an hour, sir. Like, okay. But I also assumed we had New Hampshire plates. We're in Texas. He's going to give me a ticket. But I was like, whatever. I'm going 7 miles over the speed limit. Whatever. So he comes back after a few minutes and he says, well, technically I'm supposed to impound the car and arrest you guys because of the excessive speed that you were going at. Are you going to pay this ticket? I said, yes, absolutely, which I was planning on doing. I had no idea how much it was, but he's like, okay, you've got 30 days to pay it. If not, if you want to contest it, you can come back to this area and you can get a court date. I was like, no problem. I'm planning on paying it. It was a $650 speeding ticket. So the way in that county they do it is not, okay, you were going 7 miles over the speed limit. It's like, if you're going 0 to 35 miles an hour, it's like an $85 charge. Like 35 to 55, it's like a $150 charge. But because I was doing from 100 to 150 miles an hour was a $650 charge. So even though I was going 102 miles an hour, $650 charge. So I was like, oh man, this sucks. We were both working for Best Buy at the time, and Best Buy pays bi-weekly. What we didn't know at the time was they pay half of the country on 1 week, half the country in the other week. So it's, all the employees get checks every other week, but not the same weeks. And we had done it in just the right/wrong way that we got our last check, and that was 3 weeks before we got paid again. And I had cashed out my 401k. We used all of our savings to move because it's expensive to move. Luckily, we had paid all of our rent for 6 months, but we were literally down to like our last $5 that day before the paycheck. And then we had no idea that the electrical bill was going to be as much as it was, because the month of May in Manchester, New Hampshire, for an entire month, our electrical bill was like $85. And for the first month in Arizona, it was $275.
AC.
Yeah, it was AC. So actually it was central air. We had central air, which is very nice, but from that point on, no central air. So by the time the 30 days had come up, I didn't have $650 to pay this ticket. So I was just like, when's the next time I'm going to be back in Texas? And, I got a letter saying, hey, you've missed this. So you're now in default. So you owe the $650 plus like a $90 court fee, whatever. And I was like, I just want to go to Texas. But I've driven through Texas 3 times since then. Or more importantly, I've been in a vehicle going through Texas because I have a bench warrant in Texas for not paying this. But I did a road trip 2 years ago, and I was like, let me look into this, because I've moved around so much that it takes them a little while to like catch up with me. Not that I'm running from the bench warrant. It's also like I don't think there's gonna be a bounty hunter coming to New Hampshire to get me. But I also know if I'm driving in Texas and I get pulled over, I'll spend some time in jail. But I found out from a friend of mine in Arizona who had been arrested for a different thing in that same county, that you can just turn yourself in, and like for each night that you spend in the county jail, it's like $100 off. So if I have like a week free, I could just go and get that expunged from there. The problem is, because I hadn't paid it, they kept like adding late fees. So when I did my road trip 2.5 years ago, I looked into it because I was like, I had a little bit of money at the time. I was like, let me see if I can pay this off just because I got to go through Texas. And it was like $2,800 with fees. So I was like, nope, not paying that off. So, because the road trip that I did 2.5 years ago, I visited all 48 of the lower states. So I literally dipped a half mile into a town in the Panhandle, mailed out postcards in a like a mailbox in Texas, and then got out because I was like, yep, that's all I'm doing in Texas. So that's my travel story for burning my travels clean. Up next is the very talented Rachel Campbell. Come on over.
I kind of regret the seating choice now, but I just
Do you want a taller?
No. I'm just like,
I want to be in free.
yeah, I want to be over there where they can't see me. Hey everyone.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Rachel. I'm gonna sing some songs. The first one I wrote a good while ago, and hopefully I remember the words. So. Checkmate, don't make me say what I can't think. Don't make me feel what I locked up. I never said I was steady. To dedicate, simple enough, but my legs shake. Exiting doors like a jailbreak. chalking it up to a bad break. I see it more every day. The way things change to stay the same. I weighed the options and threw them away. Now I'm just another real good fake. Truth lies claiming a distance that's measured. It's not so easy as just that. Knowing is earned and it is not fact. So what's left? Mountains of doubt and a blank check, waiting for someone to cash it. Traded money for a clear head. I see it more every day. The way things change to stay the same. I weighed the options and threw them away. Now I'm just another real good fake. I see it more every day. Stay in the lines, don't hesitate. You weighed the options, decided to stay. Now you're just another real good fake. And I'm just another real good fake.
Woo! Woo!
Very good.
Thanks, Patrick. My guitar is doing weird stuff today, but we're just gonna go with it.
Sure.
And it sounds bad, and I'm sorry.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good.
What should I do next? I'll do this one first. So this is a song that was written by my good friend Jed. I don't know if he's watching, but this is called Good Morning. It's a Jedediah Crook classic. Drove all the way across town just to get drove all the way back home just to stare into the past. Remember those memories and question their facts. Calling all the witnesses, hopes to bring my joy back, to change their minds and my crimes, put this rail back on its tracks, convince them one last time it was me and my apathy that stabbed me back. Sang so loud, but nobody heard. Sang so loud, but my pride could not be disturbed. It's kinda like the first time you woke up sad. It's kinda like the first time that you realized all of those plans would go bad. It's kinda like the first time that I stared into your eyes. It's kinda like the first time that I watched the sun. My good friend Winter would bring his cold for a while. It's a gift to the nomad in my heart. I knew we'd be stuck in this town for a while. The lover in my heart would chastise him. Well, we'll see. How do you expect to find love when you're always out traveling, only thinking about yourself? See, it's one last time. I swear I'll slow down. Trust the lover in my heart to be patient. Oh please, oh please, oh please, stick around. Can't you just sit here a while now? Perpetuate the pain. That's the way it sounds to me. It's kinda like the first time you woke up sad. It's kinda like the first time you realized that person you hated was yourself. It's kinda like the first time I stared into your eyes. It's kinda like the first time I watched the sun rise. Oh, and I sang her my soul. Sorry, Jen. Oh, and I sang her my sweetest lullaby. Before she went to sleep, beneath that burnt red orange sky. Oh, and the stars came out, and they reared their ugly heads. I just pulled the covers over, let the darkness cover my head. Let all those words unsaid stay right there in the back of my head where they should. Oh, where they should. Wonder if she'll ever come. All right, I need to tune this.
Okay.
I apologize.
What was the songwriter for the last song? What was his name again?
Jedediah Crook, Jed Crook, that's his real name. He's a good guy. You should check him out. I think he's on Bandcamp.
Nice.
At least Bandcamp, maybe Spotify. Does that sound okay?
That sounded amazing.
Can I take a sip of water?
Yeah.
So today is my favorite person's birthday. For this person, and in true Rachel fashion, it doesn't sound like a love song, but it is. But it is in the minor key, so what can you do?
Sure.
But this is for Benjamin. Will it always feel this way? Like I used to think it should. When I saw the smoke under the hood, it held my face and understood perfectly well, perfectly perfectly. Cliffside turns and traffic circles. Never meant to think to me. Till we drove through Andalusia. Now they're like good friends to me. Permanently. Fog in my brain, doubt in the shade too. It's enough just to be with you. It's enough just to be with you. Alone in the dark room, our love is there. It's enough just to be with you. 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 It's enough just to be. It's enough just to be with you. It's enough just to be with you.
Do one more.
I only have covers. I could do a cover. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Encore.
Yeah. Play one more.
Ooh, okay.
Crowd's going wild.
Several of our coworkers are watching. They're very excited because this is the first time they interviewed. Yep.
I wish I wasn't so nervous. I'm sorry.
You're doing great.
I guess I can do this Bazan cover. It's not any happier, but oh, that doesn't sound good, does it? Okay, we'll just do it. Virginia, I had a dream. You invited us over. You still lived on the street where you laid down for good. We all sat on the floor as my kids swam around us. You smoked cigarettes like I knew you would. We were worried about your personal salvation. Was it heaven or hell that you saw when your eyes closed? You smiled at us, floating high above the question, like you knew something we didn't know. Virginia, I had a dream. We were closer than brothers, singing pictures of you, crashing cars, skipping school. We drove all over town as the days blurred around us. We wore out your cassettes. We were nobody's fools. They were worried about our high school graduation. They read us a poem, oh, the places you'll go. You smiled it off, floating high above the question, like you knew something they didn't know. Thank you. Thank you guys. Loved it. Thanks. I'm gonna go this way.
Yes, I'm Clorox wiping down the microphone. Coming to the stage now, a very, very funny gentleman, Venture Dion.
Nope, you
Don.
first was good. First was good, Scott. You're doing great. Hey everybody. Thanks for doing this, Scott. Thanks everyone for coming. I know this is kind of a weird situation. Definitely moving this out. And at this point, I think I just got to come clean. I'm actually a Texas Ranger, and after that previous story, it's all the evidence I needed. So I'm bringing you in. All right. So, like I said, thanks and thank you for doing this. That's Scott's brother, who's at his studio. Although the topic of travel is wildly inappropriate for the current climate. Is the next one going to be
triggering?
Yeah. The next one's about hugging your family. I do have a travel story, but first I have something very important to take care of, and that is I'm going to roast Ben because it's his birthday.
Yeah.
This was Rachel's idea, okay? She offhandedly mentioned you should roast Ben. It's his birthday, and I was like, yeah, I can do that. I was hesitant at first though because I don't know you very well, but after hearing more about you, learning more about you, it's safe to assume that I hope it stays that way. Okay, so it's gonna be a light roast. All right. All right. Here's my first joke. Are you ready? The gloves are coming off. Ben, you're really smart. You're handsome, and you play guitar. We get it, dude. You're hot. Okay. Oh shit! I need my phone for this one. All right. Oh yeah. I know. All right. Okay. So the first thing that thank you. The first thing that Rachel told me about you, Ben, was that you really like chalk. Now I assumed this was her way of telling me you had a cocaine problem. But I learned no, it's actually chalk. This is high quality chalk that mathematicians use, and it makes sense because you're a math guy. And I mean, I get excited about little stuff too, so I'm not going to roast you about the chalk thing. But I am going to read you a quote from someone else who has a fascination in chalk, just so maybe you question your the path you're going down. All right, so here's the quote. A great leader must practice quality in all of his endeavors. Only the best minds on his council, only the best chalk on his chalkboards. If his generals fail or the chalk snaps in his hands, so could the image of a ruler. That's Adolf Hitler. No, I'm joking. I made that up. that was pretty good, though, right? It sounded real. All right, joke number 3. Let's see. Okay, Ben, we've established that you play guitar. You have the potential to talk endlessly about math. Not a lot of people know this, but Rachel also told me that you know a variety of magic tricks. Which leads me to say you should have a TED Talk on how to be the worst party goer possible. All right, 4. This is joke number 4. There's 5 total. Your car has been referred to as the Bernie Mobile. So I gotta ask you, when your car breaks down on the side of the road, do people actually show up to support, or do they just say that they will? All right, this is the last one. This is number 5. When trying to do some research for this bit, I asked Rachel some questions, and one of the questions was, "What is Ben's favorite meal?" Do you want to take a guess at what she said it was?
My favorite?
Yeah.
Salmon? I don't know.
You're half right. The correct answer was I do not know. So yeah, you might want to take a closer look at that. Okay, thank you for being a good sport, Ben. Happy birthday. I'm gonna get to my travel story now. I'm not a huge fan of traveling. I think it's all just trees rearranged in different orders. And yeah, you can really just get the same effect accomplished with Google Maps and a candle. But I'm going to talk about this cruise to Hawaii that I took. So I would never go on a cruise intentionally. Well, I guess here I'll explain in a second. I would never go on a cruise again. I mean, they're bad for the environment, and I just haven't given up as a human to that extent that I want to go on a cruise. But this was free. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Hawaii is not actually attached to the continental United States. So you need some sort of boat or vessel to get there. And so I was like, all right, whatever. This is pre-COVID stuff. This was back when you could see people's mouths, which is actually the thing I was looking forward to most about this was I was like, I'm gonna get to peep some mouths if I go out there. I go out to Scott's thing. So yeah, this is a cruise to Hawaii. I learned quickly that cruises they suck. they're cool on paper, but there's always some sort of like twist to it. Like you have plenty of downtime to do nothing, but internet is $75 a day. There's live entertainment, but it's magic. There's, and it's just so many people. There's people everywhere. There's crowds everywhere, and they always want to bother you. It's like, let me pee in this hot tub in peace. Come on. So I quickly, my decision to, I was gonna have to occupy myself, and so what I decided to do was I was gonna flirt with this cute worker, this cute waitress there. Now my strategy for talking to women is I don't so much talk to them. I stare at them and then hope that they will make a move on me. So one night in the dining hall, I've been looking at this girl for about an hour and a half. She's getting really uncomfortable, so I'm like, I'm making some headway here. And then I noticed that this older gentleman is looking at me, and I'm like, whoa, bro, like eyes away, dude. Get those peepers away from you, fucking creepo. I'm trying to look at this woman. But he actually calls me over. He waves me over to his table, and stupidly I get up and I go over, and he's like, young man, have you heard the good news? And I'm like, yeah, they're adapting 29 Pro Skater 1 and 2 for the PS4. Yeah, I've heard. And he's like, no, and he goes on to talk to me about like the whole Jesus thing. He was a Jehovah's Witness, which is rude because there is no God. I apologize to anyone in the chat who is getting offended by that. But he talks to me about it. Now, in the last couple of years, I feel like I've gone through a period of growth in my life, and where once I may have got into an argument with him, I just kind of sat there quietly, nodded, listened, just poisoned his drink and left. And the cruise continued. All the Hawaii stuff happened. It was good. There's nothing funny about someone having a good time. But on the way back, the most interesting part of the cruise happened, which they stopped in Ensenada, Mexico, to fuel. And if you had your passport, you could get off and you can explore. Now, ever since I got sober, I've really enjoyed spicy food. It's been like my lesser addiction, which is definitely an improvement because with the drinking and stuff, I was disappointing my family and my friends and my workplace, and with the spicy food, I'm really just disappointing my butthole. So I get off and walk around. Oh, hi! This is my first heckler.
She's like, I'm out of here.
She's like, this guy's fucking trash. I get off and I walk around, and I pass this crosswalk, and all of a sudden I hear, hey, you! And the guy, I'm like, oh, he's talking to me. So I go over, and he's like, hey, you want some drugs, man? And I'm immediately get self-conscious about what I'm wearing. I'm like, what about me did he pick out of a crowd that's like, this dude will buy some drugs? They're like, you want some drugs, man? I got uppers, downers, benzos, crystal. And I run out of my Prozac at that point, but I doubted that, I figured he was kind of out of stock. And so I'm like, sir, thank you very much for the offer, but I'm good. And he goes, how about girls, man? You want to fuck some girls? And I'm like, thank you for the secondary option. I'm already up to here, dude. You know what I'm saying, right? And so I was on my way, and I was like getting uncomfortable because I'm a wiener. And I decided to go back to the boat. And that's a heavy tourist area, so there's a lot of people trying to sell stuff to you. And I'm on my way back, and there's this guy wearing a whale watch sign, and he goes, hey man, you want to do whale watch? $15. And I'm like, I'm good, man. He's like, how about girls, man? You want some girls? And I'm like, which cracked me up because, the guy with the drugs, that's a natural progression. Drugs, like sex work, prostitution, it makes sense. Like, there's got to be some more options between whale watch and helping out the sex slave trade. So Wait, I'm not going to say that I do that. I've never done that. Well,
Well,
so I kind of laugh at that, and I walk back on the boat. It's near the end of the cruise. I just kind of want to go home at this point. So I walk and I get to the dining hall, and I encountered the gentleman, the Jehovah's Witness from before, and he goes, "Oh, it's so good to see you." And he's holding some books, and I'm like, "Oh, hi." And he's like, "I was hoping I would run into you. I have some literature for you." And he hands me over a Bible, and I go, "Listen, dude, hold on a sec."
she doesn't have hands.
All right, disinfect that doorknob after you go, because I do have COVID-19. He's like, he hands me a Bible, and I go, "Listen, man, I know your heart's in the right place, but it would be dishonest of me to take this. I really have no interest. It'd be a waste. You can find someone better." So he goes, "Okay, how about this?" And he hands me a magazine called The Watchtower, which is a Jehovah's Witness magazine. He's like, "Maybe this will be easier to more palatable for you." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm really not interested. I'm sorry." So he goes, "Okay. How about girls, man? You want to fuck some girls?" All right, that's all I got. Sorry about the cusses, Carrie, if you're in there watching me and my boss.
All right.
Thanks
For
for being
the
here.
fourth
Not that you really had a choice.
and final performer tonight, I'd like to welcome to the slightly raised stage, Ariel Mercier.
Woo! Yeah, let's. All right, I'm gonna sit because last time I did this, I stood. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Last time I did this, I stood and I shook the whole time. This?
You did.
Oh, we did. We're being safe here, you guys. Don't worry about it. All right, so I'm gonna tell a story. And last time I told a cringy story about me in college and how I got the scars on my arm. So if you're interested in that, hit me up later. I'll tell you about it. But I'm not gonna tell that again. So this story is actually the story of my first kiss. Super interesting. But it's just as messed up. So, all right, here we go. So this was the summer before high school. So I had just turned 14, and as you can imagine, as a 14-year-old, I was kind of like in between styles and stages in my life and trying to figure myself out. So I was known at that time as Ellie, after Ellie from Degrassi. She was a goth chick who wore fishnet all the time, and basically I wanted to be her, so that was me. So I was Ellie, and I was a total goth, like scene chick, I guess you would say, emo girl, whatever. And I basically just wore all black and listened to sad music, what can I say? So I had my best friend at the time, her name was Kira, and Kira and I were pretty much inseparable from 7th grade up until when we started high school. So she had like transferred into my tiny little private middle school, and we just clicked immediately. We both really liked bands like Good Charlotte and Simple Plan. So obviously, like, we were the only two. So that was really fun, and we did a lot of stuff together with her grandmother. Her grandmother would bring us to like different little road trips, and our favorite place to go was Newburyport, which we called Burpo. I don't know why. We were very weird. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so the date of the story I'm going to tell you is August 6, 2004, and I have a weird memory, and I remember that was the exact day of my first kiss. Yep, I'm a weirdo. And so if you've ever been to Newburyport, there's a big square in the middle of town, and it's just lined with benches. And every summer they do a Yankee homecoming, where they have a lot of vendors out, food, and different types of like stores and things like that. So we were there on August 6th, and it was Yankee homecoming, so we were really excited. We got all dressed up. I was wearing bright green fishnet tights and jean shorts and a navy blue t-shirt that said in humongous letters, "Hello, I love you." I don't know. So anyways, so that we were walking around, we were just hanging out. Our plan, we did not really have a plan for the day, but we had been given a few hours by her grandmother of time by ourselves, which was really exciting. So after walking around for a little bit, that is when I saw you. And when I mean you, I mean the guy with the long hair, the tall guy with the long hair, with the trucker hat and the gray t-shirt and baggy jeans and skate shoes. So basically 100% my type. Still to this day. So so I saw you and I immediately knew, okay, this is our mission. Our mission is to be noticed by you, you know, two 14-year-old girls trying to make something of the day and just internally giggling about it the whole time. So for our mission, it had two parts. Part one was to walk around and follow you and your friends that were hanging out, and very clearly noticed us following you, and just to kind of see how long we could get away with doing that. So we followed you down to the waterfront. If you've ever been to Newburyport, it's really beautiful. You can kind of walk right up to the water, see all the boats. In the summertime, they have concerts, so they were doing live music. So we followed you down there, walked back to the square behind you, and yeah, the whole time we were just giggling and talking about you, and it was really great. The second part of our mission was when we noticed that one of the vendors at Yankee Homecoming was a psychic, and her services cost $10. And lucky for me, my mom, wonderful, had given me $20 of spending money, so I had $10 to spare. So I decided to go up to the psychic and kind of assess, okay, if the psychic tells me that like we're gonna be together, then it's real. So I did, and she gave me a reading, and I don't remember exactly what she said because I'm pretty sure I only focused on the fact that she said, "Oh, I'm sensing that you are interested in a boy." And I was like, yes, yes, I am. How did you know? And she was like, well, I think it's going to work out and you should definitely go for it. So I was like, okay, like, obviously I'm going to believe her. She's a psychic, who wouldn't? So wide-eyed and hopeful, I set off to completely pursue you and end that mission on a high note. So as we walked out of the psychic's little tent, we saw you sitting on a bench with your friends, and Kira, being my very best friend, did what any 14-year-old best friend would have done in that situation, and pushed me into you, so that I bumped into you. And you were like, oh, hey. And I was like, oh, hey. And I sat down with you. You made room on the bench for me. You were smiling. You were clearly into it. And in a rare moment of courage, I reached up and grabbed your trucker hat and put it on my own head. And I thought I was so cool for doing that. I was like, yeah, I'm smooth. But I mean, it worked, so whatever. And somewhere in between me flirting really wonderfully by taking your hat and me stalking you all day, you mentioned that you were not from here. So I was like, wait, you're not from here? You're here. And you said, no, I'm not from here. I'm visiting my friend for the summer. I'm from Michigan, and I'm only here for a few more days, and then I'm going home. And I was like, oh, just my luck. Well, that psychic was wrong. And the rest of the night for me, after hearing that horrible, heartbreaking news, it passed really slow. But at the same time, it felt like I didn't have enough time with you because I felt just you know, 14-year-old, I felt we had such an insane, strong connection. We barely talked about anything, but I just knew, you know, like I had to be with you. So we walked around, we had a little bit of our alone time together. We walked up and down the waterfront. We talked a little bit about your life. We talked a little bit about mine, but you know, what could you really talk about as a 14-year-old other than, you know, school? So that was interesting. But you seemed so much cooler than me. You were 16, so you were 2 years older than me. You played hockey at a semi-professional level, and humble brag. And you had a car, and that was like really hot. So at that point, after our conversation, I knew that I was totally in love with you, and I would forever be in love with you. So when Kira's Mimi told us that it was time to go home, and it was finally time for me to say goodbye, probably forever, I knew that I wanted it, but I did not know like the logistics of how to kiss someone, so I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And we were standing down by the waterfront, and right as we were just standing there staring at each other, the fireworks from Friday night at Yankee Homecoming had already started, you know, covering the sky. Kind of like the fireworks in my body at that moment. But the fireworks were covering the sky, and at that moment, you pulled me in for a perfect first kiss. Really, really picture perfect. Whenever I tell people this story, I have to kind of laugh because it really was at the waterfront, fireworks were going off for my first kiss. It was pretty cool, pretty special. So clearly I loved you since that day, since you attached yourself to me in that very special way that we always remember our first kiss, our first love, etc. And for my friends in here and my friends at home, everyone probably remembers something called LiveJournal. It was an online blog that my friends and I all used when we were in high school. So you wrote in your LiveJournal about me that night, and I thought it was the sweetest thing I'd ever read. And again, I was 14 years old, so of course, take this with a grain of salt. But the wonderful thing about the internet is that nothing ever goes away. So I have the actual LiveJournal entry that you wrote about me that night. So I'm gonna read it. It's really good. So romantic. The days are not long enough. I thought it would be a shitty day, but it was an amazingly awesome day. But it was too short. It was way too fucking short. Went downtown. There were a lot of people. Hung out with a bunch of them. Then, I don't know what happened, but it was good. There was this girl named Ellie, and she was wicked cool and wicked hot. And I don't know what happened, but it was awesome. She told me about a trip to a psychic, and I don't know, it just seemed awesome. I may never see her again. It's a terrible thing. I hope I continue talking to her. And so, you got your wish, because we did keep talking. And we had so many wonderful memories and so many things that still fill me with joy to this day. Like sleepless nights on the phone, hours and hours and hours talking until my mom would wake up the next morning for work, and I would have to pretend to be sleeping until she left so we could keep talking. That time that your parents yelled at you because your cell phone bill was $400, that was great. Countless logged and saved AIM conversations because I just wanted to keep looking back and reliving the moment. Your surprise road trip to New Hampshire, that one time where you gave me 24 hours notice and showed up at my house. Saying I love you for the first time and starting our life together 5 years later in Boston. My friends used to tell any boy that was interested in me that they would never be you. And in a way, they were right. And yet, as we grew up, you became a cigarette smoker. You cut off all of your hair that I love so much. You wrote poetry that you claimed I could never understand. And you attacked me for my insecurities, told me I'd get better at making you happy. And you blew smoke in my face as you told me about a girl in my Hinduism class that you had met. So finally, one day after my 7-day crying streak, I was actually able to get out of bed when I finally realized that in all those years, you had never once acknowledged my birthday. That's it.
Yeah, life sucks.
Thank you, Ariel. And thank everyone at home and the 4 of you who are here. Happy birthday, Ben. Yeah, this was kind of a weird experiment, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was, I don't know. I appreciate you guys for doing this. I appreciate you for sitting there and drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon. And Neve, we couldn't have done it without you interrupting Venture, so thank you. Thanks for checking in, and yeah, you guys are awesome.
Yay.
Rachel, come wave goodbye.
Rachel, come wave. We need Rachel.
We do need someone to hit the end stream button though.
Bye.